Our ninth serial killer profile belongs to Gary Ridgway, aka the Green River Killer. Serial killer Gary Leon Ridgway was born on February 18, 1949 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He held a job painting trucks for 30 years and was married 3 times. He began murdering women in 1982 and was caught in 2001 when a DNA test revealed a match to crimes that were over 20 years old. 5 of his victims were thrown into the Green River, which is what led to his nickname. Ridgway is serving a life sentence without parole following a guilty conviction for 48 initial murders, and 1 later confirmed. Ridgway told investigators he killed as many as 75 to 80 women along Route 99 in South King County, Washington. He was convicted and received multiple life sentences. Gary Ridgway was raised near Seattle's Pacific Highway, a deprived neighborhood near SeaTac Airport. Ridgway was a poor student. His father was a bus driver who would tell him about whores and warn Gary to stay away from them. At age 16, he lured a 6-year-old boy into the woods and stabbed him because he wanted to see what it would be like to kill somebody. Ridgway was drafted and sent to Vietnam after high school. When he returned, he got a job painting trucks, which he kept for 30 years. Though he married 3 times and was fanatical about religion, Ridgway was a frequent client of area prostitutes. On the outside, adult Ridgway seemed normal, but he was leading a double life. Ridgway served in the Navy until he married his first wife briefly in 1972. His second marriage lasted from 1973 to 1981. During his second marriage, he became a religious convert and preached to people, going door to door to read out loud from the Bible. But Ridgway was also frequenting prostitutes in the Seattle area. In July 1980, Ridgway was arrested for choking a prostitute near the Strip, but charges were later dropped. He said he choked the woman in self-defense after she bit him. In 1982, Ridgway was found guilty of soliciting a prostitute, and on another occasion, an undercover police officer posing as a prostitute. Regardless, Ridgway managed to blend into his middle-class neighborhood. He had a job, he was married, and seemed harmless to those around him. Ridgway's slayings began in 1982, when young runaways and prostitutes began disappearing from State Route 99 in South King County, Washington. Ridgway brought many of them to his home and strangled them, then left their bodies in remote sites in the woods. The first few of these bodies turned up along the now notorious Green River. On Saturday, April 30th, 1983, Marie Malvar, 18, was picked up by a dark pickup as her boyfriend and pimp watched from a close distance. As Marie got into the pickup, she appeared to get into a fight with the driver. The pickup sped off, and Marie's boyfriend followed in his own car. Unfortunately, he was caught by a stoplight and lost the pickup, so he reported the incident to the police. 3 days after Marie was kidnapped, a search party, including her boyfriend and family, saw the pickup truck again when they were out looking for her. The search party followed the truck to a house and called the police. The police questioned the resident of the house, Gary Ridgway, but Ridgway denied knowing Mary, and the police believed him. On February 23, 1983, before Marie went missing, police stopped Ridgway in his pickup with prostitute Kelly McGinnis. Ridgway said they were on a date, and police let them go. 4 months later, Kelly disappeared, and her body was never found. Ridgway's van also matched the description of the car that picked up both Marie and Kelly. On Monday, May 7, 1984, police subjected Ridgway to a polygraph test, also known as a lie detector. They asked him if he had ever caused the death of a prostitute, and Ridgway said no. Ridgway passed the test. However, many prostitutes interviewed by police recalled seeing Ridgway at the Strip frequently. Ridgway was also noted as being absent from work on every day a prostitute went missing in the area. When police interviewed Ridgway's second wife, she told them that several times Ridgway made strange comments about the Green River Killer and the area where all the victims' bodies were found. On Wednesday, April 8, 1987, police seized hundreds of Ridgway's personal effects from his home, work, and van. Police also took a saliva swab from Ridgway for DNA testing. However, DNA testing at the time wasn't very advanced, and they weren't able to link the DNA to any of the victims. Police were so desperate that they even began consulting with a serial killer, Ted Bundy, while he was in a Florida prison. Bundy advised them that the new disposal site was probably closer to the killer's home. So police created a single triangle around the area and found Ridgway's home was located within this red zone. Still, with no new evidence connecting Ridgway to the killings, the trail to the Green River Killer went cold. Nearly 20 years after the first murders in 2001, the case was reopened. Police had new DNA technology that wasn't available the first time around. The first thing they did was reanalyze all the available DNA and forensic data, starting with samples from 3 victims recovered between 1982 and 1983, and Gary Ridgway's saliva from 1987. On September 10, 2001, the results came back with a resounding positive. All 3 samples from the victims matched Gary Ridgway's DNA. On Friday, November 30th, 2001, the police arrested Ridgway as he was driving home from work. Facing the prospect of execution, Ridgway made a deal with investigators to reveal where he'd hidden the bodies of several of the young women who'd never been found. Ridgway told police he thought he was doing them a favor by killing prostitutes, saying, "You guys can't control them, but I can." He said he targeted prostitutes because I thought I could kill as many as I wanted without getting caught. Ridgway's MO was to target a prostitute working on the highway and watch her from a distance, before driving up and trying to pick her up. To give them a sense of security, he'd show his ID or a picture of his son. He'd then drive somewhere secluded with them. Finally, he'd strangle the woman from behind, either in his van or in his house. In his plea bargain papers, he also said, "Choking is what I did, and I was pretty good at it." Ridgway admitted placing the bodies in clusters, usually near a landmark, that helped him remember their locations. "I did this because I wanted to keep track of all the women I killed. I liked to drive by the clusters around the county and think about the women I placed there." Ridgway confessed to killing between 75 to 80 women, but police were only able to confirm 49 murders. In June 2003, Ridgway struck a deal with prosecutors. In return for taking the death penalty off the table, Ridgway agreed to give them complete details about the murders and location of bodies. A King County sheriff told CNN, "The majority of the families were understanding and in agreement that it was probably the best decision given the circumstances, in order for the other 41 families to have some sort of resolution." Ridgway agreed to plead guilty to any future cases where his confession could be substantiated by evidence. He was sentenced to life in prison in December 2003, having committed more murders than any serial killer in U.S. history. An additional body, the 49th, was found in 2011, with Ridgway receiving another life sentence. In 2013, he claimed in an interview with a news media outlet that he had murdered 75 to 80 women. Experts continue speculation over if Ridgway was telling the truth or seeking further attention. Gary Ridgway remains alive in prison and serving his multiple life sentence for his crimes as the Green River Killer.